kind of this running gag about rooting for the Dodgers and everything. I'm here to tell you that the Dodgers winning the World Series the other night is a legit, no giggle here, big deal for the future of Major League Baseball, including in Pittsburgh. Good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. I posted something on social media, I'd say within about an hour of the final out of Game 7. I'll read it to you. There's not much there. It certainly won't be anything new to anybody who's listened to this program. Quoting myself here, in all seriousness, this is the ideal outcome. Major League Baseball needs a salary cap system. For those who don't know, all cap systems come with a ceiling, a floor, a tight range between the two, and to ensure it works, expanded revenue sharing, just like every other sport. That's it. That's it. That's all I had. None of the usual snark, none of my, how did they do this? What a whippersnapper, up and coming, gritty, none of that stuff. It wasn't aimed at the Dodgers, this one, at all. And there's a reason for that. As I'd elaborate later in the same discussion threads, Dodgers didn't do anything wrong. I've said that on this show. They're not evil. They're not villains. They didn't break any rules. They're capitalizing on a completely, now clearer than ever to everybody, broken system. It's beyond broken. It's beyond repair. Not because of the Dodgers, but because the Dodgers and a handful of other teams, and not more than that, are at one extreme, and the Pirates and a handful of other teams are at another extreme. And the extreme itself is the sign that everything's broken. Did the Dodgers do some things that some people disagree with, notably the deferred money and so forth? Yeah. Did the Pirates do a lot of things and continue to do a lot of things where they underspend? Also, yeah. And what ends up happening is that the system just keeps, well, the spectrum, I should say, not the system, keeps getting spread wider and wider and wider. And the reason for that is that it can. That's it. That's it. The rest of it's human nature. You're going to have people who are going to want to spend like crazy. You're going to have the owner of the Mets, the only owner in all of professional sports who spends from his own money. And take note of that, all the geniuses who say, he's a billionaire, he should do that. No business owners do that. That's just not a good way to be a business owner. Business revenue goes into business spending. Again, with every single team in all of professional sports except the New York Mets. The Dodgers don't do it. Only the Mets. The Dodgers just happen to have a massive revenue pile in large part because of their historic local television deal. So if the Mets had won it and Steve Cohen had spent out of his own pocket, would they have been doing anything wrong? Nope. Would the Yankees have been doing anything wrong? Also nope. Nobody. The only nemesis in the equation is the lack of a salary cap system. You know, the one that every other major professional sports league in North America uses. And they use them for a reason. Lots of reasons, actually. Did you know that a couple of months ago, when the NHL and its players' union agreed to a new collective bargaining agreement, they did so a full year before the previous one was set to expire? There were no headlines, there was no back and forth, no nothing. They got together and said, everybody did, we like this. The league, the owners, the players. The players had no issue with the cap because ever since the cap was put in the NHL, money was distributed across all the teams. Money was more evenly distributed across all the players. And because the NHL would have 30 or so markets that were constantly being invested and interested in the product, they kept growing and expanding and selling more tickets and getting higher ratings. And all of that, of course, also made it to the players since they were guaranteed 50% of revenues. Guaranteed. Ironclad. Under any circumstance, the players get 50% of all the revenues. Higher than in any other league. In the NFL, it's 48%. In the NBA, it's 48%. Major League Baseball, it fluctuates from year to year. It tends to be just a little bit below all three of the other leagues. But way more striking than that is a gap, huge gap within baseball and its Players Association of what the top earners get and what the real rank and file in the majors get. They are the lowest paid in all of professional sports. A major league player in his first 3 years in the majors makes less money than a similar player in the NFL, the NHL, or the NBA. Nobody will tell you that. It's actually true. You can look it up. Paul Skeens right now is making less money than some random third-pairing defenseman for the San Jose Sharks. So, anyway, I get all kinds of, you can imagine, the blowback from this. 99.999% of it coming from people with avatars or names that strongly suggested they were Dodgers fans, but also from some people in the industry, a former major league pitcher. Last I checked, the thing had reached more than 350,000 people. And that's fine. At least now the thing's being discussed. Now the salary cap system is being discussed. You're not going to talk somebody who's a Dodgers fan into this. That's not the objective. But what does matter, what does count out of this, and the reason that Game 7 and its outcome was important is that the perception that it's okay to talk about the salary cap, that's pretty much there now. The perception that it's a real possibility, that it could happen, the mythology of the union is so big, bad, and scary, and they'll never give in, as if unions have any choice in this sort of thing. They don't. They can strike, they can be locked out. Ultimately, the owners in any labor situation set the work rules. If the owners of the company, in this case the assembly, meaning Major League Baseball, choose to have things a certain way, and they hang together, they win. Just like in the NFL, just like in the NHL, just like in the NBA. Nothing makes baseball special in this regard. So let everybody talk about it. Let's have a real conversation about it. But let's give a shot at using actual facts. The next time you hear somebody say, I'd rather have a salary floor, as if they've just come up with a wild new concept, tell them that salary floor exists in every cap system. There's a ceiling, a floor, and there's greatly expanded revenue sharing to make sure everybody can fit within that range. They'll never even spend to the floor. They have to. And if they only spend to the floor, the difference between the ceiling and the floor, here again referring to the NFL and the NHL, is only about $20 million, which is not much of a gap when you're up in this price range. And when they say, this doesn't fix anything, look at how many Super Bowls the Patriots and the Chiefs won, and how many, the Florida Panthers have just won back-to-back Stanley Cups. The Penguins won 3 of them. My response is always, okay, great. You want to know something? I happen to be of the belief, based on talking to a lot of people in the industry, that the Dodgers are really well run. Like, set aside all of the free agents, set aside all of the spending, Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, all that other stuff. They also happen to have a really good, dependable, reliable minor league system that the finances don't give you that much of an advantage in that area. Not anymore. They're just smart. My belief, and I've said this before, is that in a cap league, the Dodgers would still be one of baseball's better teams. Maybe the best. My further belief, and you know this, because I say this all the time, is that in a cap league, the Pirates would still suck. I mean, really suck. In fact, their suckitude or whatever would be so much further exposed to the rest of the world than it is now, because now they can hide behind, oh, well, we don't spend much, when their issues really aren't that much about spending. They're just run badly. Let's talk about it, because now at least everyone's going to pay attention, even if it's just because of the perception that the Dodgers have done some terrible thing to the game. No, they've done everybody a great favor. When we come back, J1Q.
If you're looking for a great dining experience, look no further than North Shore Tavern. Located directly across Federal Street from PNC Park, next door to Mike's Beer Bar, North Shore Tavern is Pittsburgh's home for steak on a stone. Enjoy your steak finished on a hot lava stone in front of you, where you ensure each piece is cooked to exactly your liking. Or try their rotating selection of entrees, hot sandwiches, salads, and burgers, all while enjoying the ambiance dedicated to the great players and history of the Pittsburgh Pirates all around you. Come see why everyone's talking about North Shore Tavern and steak on a stone.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
DeleteMe makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. Data brokers can compile your name, contact info, social security number, home address, even information about your family members, and they can sell it online. Have you ever been a victim of identity theft, harassment, doxing? If you haven't, you probably know someone who has. DeleteMe can help. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for DeleteMe. Our listeners get a special discount. Get 20% off your DeleteMe plan when you go to join DeleteMe.com/hit. Use promo code HIT at checkout. That's HIT. The only way to get 20% off is to go to join DeleteMe.com/hit and enter HIT at checkout. That's join DeleteMe.com/hit, code HIT.
Today's J1Q comes from Bob Elliott, who says, quote, a culture built on collaboration, connection, and enjoying the game, end quote. Is that supposed to be like the Pirates' mission statement? What a joke. How about something more honest and sincere like, quote, we like to win, but it's okay if we lose, end quote. For anybody who doesn't know what Bob's referring to, there was a tweet on the social media account that the Pirates have that's aimed at focusing on their young players, wherever it is that they happen to be. And they put that on there. They put that out to the public, like that this was going to be well received. And I called attention to it in an episode late last week, if only to shed a harsh light on something that I get to see and hear from these people on a regular basis, but they don't often show to everybody else. This is, Bob, how they talk. This is the stuff that they say to each other. This is their internal communication. And this precedes the Ben Cherington tenure. This is how it's sounded since really Neil Huntington and Kyle Stark took over baseball ops back in 2011. And it's kind of gross, for lack of a more descriptive term. This really should matter. It's not how Pittsburghers talk. We're not full of crap. We just say what it is that we're thinking. We say it in a blunt way, and we all have an easier time, getting along and relating to each other, I'd like to think, as a result. This stuff is trash, and it's self-flagellating trash. And it's so pervasive in their actual culture that, as many a person inside the organization has shared with me over the years, it just buries what it is that they need to do. It hides it. It puts it so far down the list, it becomes unrecognizable. When you hear me say stuff like, Charrington's in love with his process, it might sound like I'm speaking gobbledygook, but that's actually the best way I can phrase it, because what he does is this thing, this quote. And he thinks if they put out stuff like that, meaning just to themselves, not to the outside world, this was a rarity, that that's the end goal. That's what he's striving for. So when he sees and senses all these people around him who are angry and upset and questioning his leadership, he thinks we're nuts because he's achieving this quote. And the rest of us Philistines just don't get it. They don't understand. We don't understand what it is that's happening. We don't see that they're on the road to even more excellence, which, no matter how it is that you took his more excellence line, the one thing that you can't dispute is that he sees the winning part of it as some sort of icing on the cake. Like, hey, or something that's just being unnecessarily demanded from the outside. Oh, that's what you want? You want us to win? Well, all right, if you want even more excellence, here it comes. You guys are the best for putting up with this. You really are. They overuse that term constantly, best fans and da-da-da-da. You've got to be the best fans, like, in the history of anything, because you are following the worst franchise. And yes, that can be spoken wholly independently of pushing for a salary cap system, because maybe someday the Pirates will have a new GM, a new owner who'd be willing to fire a terrible GM like this one. And if they do, they'll be able to operate at the foundational level on equal footing. But not these guys. No chance. I appreciate the question, Bob. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.